Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with realityshifters.com, and today I'm here to talk with you about tuning in realities like radio stations. So this is such an interesting idea right now because I think a lot of us are feeling like we're living in surreal times, like facts don't seem to matter, divisiveness is threatening harmonious relationships with our family, our friends, and our neighbors, our colleagues, pretty much everyone. So what is this tuning between realities? Well, recently I heard someone talk about how he felt like he was moving between realities, as if he was just driving his car down the freeway. And you know that feeling where you've tuned your tuner dial, radio dial, to just pick up something, and it's kind of, stations are kind of coming in and going out. And he feels like reality's working that way, like it's kind of unsettling for him. He felt like it was surreal and not necessarily in a pleasant way. So because there seems like there's no sense of agreement, because it seems like there's a lot of contentiousness, divisiveness. And I love this analogy because when you think of this idea of just moving down the freeway, like you're picking up different radio stations, different realities, it's very similar to another method that I've mentioned before. If you want to make a quantum jump, just walk down your hallway. Imagine you can go through doorways, and sometimes just walk down the hallway, turn around and come back to where you were, and you'll notice that there's been a shift in exactly what you needed the shift to be. So this is similar with tuning in radio realities. And so I love the way that this matches my own experiences with flip-flops, reality shift flip-flops that I've blogged about and done a video about before. Where I described seeing my neighbor's rooftop having leaf guards on the gutters and then not, and then it was kind of going back and forth. Also, we had a pet dog who had cataracts in his eyes, and then they'd be gone, and then they'd come back when another family member would check on the dog. And so we went through a process of noticing to choose the path that shines, choose the path of love and connection. And by focusing on that, we can actually collectively bring it in together. Secondly, the other reason I love this analogy about tuning realities like radio stations is that I can relate to the stress that so many of us are feeling recently. And that's with regard to what's going on with facts and pertaining to heated topics du jour. So even to mention some of these topics is to risk being deplatformed from social media sites these days. And this is not just because we're in China or something. We'd expect that there, right? No, this is happening around the world right now, including in the United States of America. And this censorship doesn't seem to be in keeping with the type of transparency, integrity, and ethics required of authentic scientific discussion for all sorts of topics. Yet it has somehow become normalized. So I sincerely hope that people can respect one another and listen to those who have different perspectives and information in an open public discussion. I'm hoping that America will come back to that. I'm hoping that there will be a return worldwide to that. In the meantime, what do? Well, let's take a look at quantum coherence and entanglement. We got some great ideas here. So some hints about what's going on comes from quantum physics experiments when we look at how can we bring quantum phenomena into our macroscopic daily lives. And so I love doing that. I love looking at the way quantum physics absolutely can influence reality on all levels. This is not disputed by the world's top physicists who are bringing together a theory of everything. They know that absolutely there will be quantum effects at every level. Maybe not frequently, but it will be happening. So the other thing that's going on is quantum coherence. This is an idea where quantum states are understood to exist in an energetic kind of a blur. You can think of that as a superposition of states where all possibilities exist simultaneously, but none have been chosen or decided upon until such a time as there's decoherence and this wave state is collapsed. So the wave function is collapsed. So quantum entanglement is a different complementary concept. It's different than coherence and decoherence. Entanglement has to do with the way that even far-flung quantum particles, once they're entangled with others, continue to move in sync with those others. And we can glean some intriguing insights from considering ways that entanglement and coherence operate in natural systems. on the macroscopic scale and in our daily lives. Of course, I cover this in my book, Quantum Jumps, and of course I cover it in my videos. You've heard me talk about it frequently. What's interesting now is that several years ago, some physicists successfully conducted an experimental demonstration of something called everlasting quantum coherence. So what are they doing? What are they doing when they create everlasting quantum coherence? They're finding this phenomenon where you can maintain a quantum system existing in that superposition of states all at once, and maintaining that persistent coherence in order that there will be no states destroyed within a fraction of a second due to what they call noise from the environment, other people observing, and so forth. We know, or we can definitely infer with a very high level of certainty and probability, that nature likely employs this exact kind of natural mechanism for coherence protection. Now, why do we know that? We know it because, as I discuss in my book, Quantum Jumps, quantum random walks that happen in photosynthesis, for example, are require this kind of coherence in order for them to be, for plants and anything that photosynthesizes, like everything green behind me, to be able to do that wonderful thing they do where they make such efficient use of every photon they receive at a level that we have never quite yet attained with any of our solar technologies and so forth. So in our daily lives, we can think of this state of being in quantum coherence as something like being aware that you can tune in all those different radio stations. And so all those various physical realities. Now that might seem stressful, like it does to that person I mentioned at the beginning of this video, where he's feeling like this is surreal, maybe not in a good way, it's uncomfortable. Okay, it's uncomfortable. But it does present us with opportunities, such as I mentioned the placebo effect, and I've talked about that in many videos, many blog posts, my newsletter, Reality Shifters, and my books. So this placebo effect gives us the opportunity to actually choose, like, what if, how good can it get? Let's experience that, and guiding your imagination to go there. So how does this come in with choosing, tuning between realities? Okay, well, if you think back on a time when you may have experienced something like picking up those two radio stations at the same time, if that's ever happened, or if you can imagine it happening, go ahead and do that. Hopefully you're able to determine which station was broadcasting something you enjoyed, and hopefully you were able to establish connection with that broadcast. So this is the idea, with awareness that the choices that we make are shaping us, and that our very observation and selection of a channel and our subsequent experiences, we can tune in these realities that have better long-term end game potential. We can make choices based on things that we would wish for ourselves, such as to be respected, to have sovereignty and freedom of choice and love. And so we can bestow that on others. When we do that, we steer life experiences and those we've entangled with in positive directions. This past week, I've heard a lot about a Netflix film called Don't Look Up, and I've heard people feeling angsty about it. A lot of people are feeling rattled and sometimes slipping into feelings of anxiety or anger or sadness. And there's no need to fall into that, because what we can do there is recognize we have an opportunity to, again, tune in as another station on that same exact bandwidth. What would that be? That could be along the lines of author John Perkins, who wrote a book about an economic hitman. And basically, when he wrote that book, it was an idea talking about this death economy that is contributing to a lot of destruction on the planet in many different ways, not just environmentally, but lots of different ways. Anyway, when he talked about that in his book, The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman, I interviewed him on my podcast, Living the Quantum Dream, on Dream Vision 7 radio network. And in our conversation, he talked about lots of things that we can do collectively to turn that death economy into a life economy. And this is a way for us to recognize that we don't need to get distraught when we hear things or see things. Art is wonderful when it motivates us to action. So when we feel that motivation to action but don't know what to do, we've got something we can do. And we can start seeing signs that this life economy is indeed working, it's thriving. And you might say, how so? Where's the evidence? Okay, well, I've got a good one for you. Just this last month, I heard from studies that show that the monarch butterfly populations have been soaring by a staggering 4,900% increase rate. And they were actually dancing around the edge of endangerment for some years now. And we wonder what's going on to bring this comeback of the monarch butterflies. And what I can find out so far is just that lots of different little communities, lots of people are making small actions all over the place, and it's having a collective effect. And I think when we understand that individually we might feel like we can't do anything, but together we know that we can. We can change the planet, and it's not too late. And of course, we can start by asking my favorite question in every situation: how good can it get? So until next time, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with realityshifters.com. Thanks.